Trump has a track record of embarrassing all his guests, really. Like he takes them, he wants to show them who's the boss. He's like, look, man, you're just a killer. You know, right now in the negotiations, you're gonna... Like he just shows them who's the boss because it's all psychology, right? Yeah. The Saudis with these planes, they can hit Iran anytime they want. Like you saw how the Israelis did it. Every Saudi person needs to understand, you're just a slave of the Americans. That's the truth. I didn't sign the contract, your king did. My stance on Israel is that it does not have nuclear weapons. We'll continue to say that until they do a test.
Sheikh, when did Muslims stop thinking and just start reacting, right? Every headline tells us who to love, who to hate, and even what to fear.
When we gave up our minds, we gave up our powers. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam have built the Sahaba and taught them to think before they move. Today, we scroll before we think.
And that's why we built i3 Politics, right? Not to feed the outrage, but to rebuild clarity. And that's why we launched the Insider memberships, where every month you'll get live Q&As with Sheikh Usta and 2 exclusive episodes every single month. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to i3 Pulse. Today, why did the U.S. hand Saudi Arabia F-35s, nuclear cooperation, AI access, major non-NATO ally status at one shot? If Saudi Arabia gains stealth jets while Pakistan is in its corner as well, is Israeli military dominance finally over? And with the UN approving Trump's Gaza plan, are we going to see foreign forces in Gaza, maybe even Turkish forces? We'll talk about that today on i3 Pulse. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Mohammed bin Salman visited the White House, and there was a lot of controversy, actually. Before we jump into the developments, what happened, wanted to get you to hear this clip and get your reactions based on reporters' reactions to Mohammed bin Salman.
He's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it. And we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia. And we've improved our system to be sure that...
So, Sheikh, the news reporters are going crazy about the Jamal Khashoggi, and they're asking this question. Trump's reaction, called him like not that great of a guy, American reporter. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, to be honest, basically in the United States, all the major news channels are integrated within the White House narrative. Yeah. Like even when they basically push back or whatever it is, even this reporter was sent, he's like, most probably, I'm not going to say 100%, but most probably basically it was a task given to him. So, and Trump has a track record of embarrassing all his guests, really. Like he takes them, he wants to show them who's the boss. He's like, look, man, you're just a killer. Right now in the negotiations, you're going to... Like he just showed them who's the boss because negotiation, it's all psychology, right?
Yeah.
So, he tried to basically seem as if like he's the one who's saving his face and so forth, or saving face for him. With Trump, everything's reality TV.
Yeah, definitely. Now, moving away from the reality TV to really what's happened here, Trump mentioned here about the F-35s. I want to get your thoughts on this.
We're going to have a deal. They're going to purchase F-35s. They're buying them from Lockheed, and it's a great plane. We make, by the way, the best military equipment. You saw that during the Iran little...
And then he's talking about Iran, how they destroyed Iran and all that stuff. But it's shocking, right, that Trump approved the F-35 jets here. And historically, Israel's been the only really nation in the Middle East that has F-35s. What's your reaction to that, Sheikh?
Well, Turkey was supposed to have them too, right? So it's not just Israel. But due to basically purchasing the S-400s, that broke the deal, and they were still discussing it anyway. Until now, he was a little bit open about it. Probably they're not going to get it. But look, Saudi Arabia is fully protected by the United States. Like it's not as if basically if they give them the most advanced weapons, they're going to do anything with them, right? Like the Saudi army is actually like majority of the army is non-Saudis.
Yeah.
So it's not. And then don't forget, basically, who's going to give them the best version of the F-35? He was asked, are you going to give them the best version? And is it going to be a version that, outpaces the Israeli one? And he says, yeah, we're going to give him the top of the line technology. But he's a liar. He'll tell you anything and everything.
Yeah.
They will
And
not.
he seemed a little bit vague in his response too. He's like, well, they're both allies, and we'll give them top of the line. Like he didn't even specify what does he mean by top of the line anyway.
Well, the most basic for him from his perspective is top of the line.
So you get F-35, the basic one, quiet, top of the line.
Yeah. So they're not going to get top of the line. This is 100%. This is 100%. Nobody should even doubt this. And don't forget, basically, at the end of the day, the F-35 is very integrated from all the data links and so forth. So they really need the United States to support them in integrating all that. And at the end of the day, all these planes are dependent upon the supply chain of the United States. And even the Europeans are screaming like crazy about this whole kill switch, right? So,
software updates, friend of four technology, kill switch. Like it's a thing that puts full dependence on the US. But now, Sheikh, like for those viewers who are watching, right? Like we hear you might hear F-35. You're like, well, Saudi Arabia has F-15s. Why is that F-35 even special in the first place?
Yeah, so the F-35, the most important thing about it is basically it is the most advanced plane after the F-22. F-22 is more advanced in certain things, and F-35 is a little bit more advanced than F-22 in certain things. But they're both very, very stealthy planes. This is the most important thing about it is basically super stealthy, meaning most radars wouldn't be able to capture it, right? And now the Chinese are claiming to have a radar that can, but even in terms of stealth, the F-22 is better than the F-35. But the F-22 is not for export. Not even Israel gets it. Nobody gets it. So the F-35 is basically for all the friendly nations of the United States. Lots of European nations can get to it. And there's a few other things basically the F-35 is very good at, which is like the whole sensor fusion, where basically all types of sensors are integrated through data links, and they're all basically in the cockpit for the pilot. So it's very well integrated, plane. There's a few other things that are very technical, but it has super cruise, very fuel efficient in terms of like flying very fast on supersonic speeds, and a few other things basically from an avionics perspective that are pilot specific, but also electronic warfare is very, very advanced electronic warfare is there in the plane. So it's really it is top of the line. Nobody can say that. But now that the Chinese have even like closely or equally better planes, or even equally good planes or better planes.
Yeah, and that's why even Trump started speaking in that, we're building our F-47, right? Like there's another plane that we're trying to build, right? Because it seems like they're trying to compete, right?
The 47 is the sixth generation, right? So the Chinese already basically, they're flying their sixth generation in test.
And then F-35 is the fifth generation.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Now, still, Sheikh, like, I was very surprised, right? Because even though, Turkey, they had that whole thing in the past where Erdogan was supposed to get F-35s. They're part of the F-35 program. And then because of the S-400, from getting that technology from Russia, the U.S. stopped them. But even when Erdogan went to the U.S. last visit a few weeks ago, even Trump at the end, they didn't really give him the F-35s. So why Saudi Arabia with the F-35s, and why now? Couldn't they have given them something like fourth generation and just kept it like that?
Well, it seems the United States is really dependent upon like lots of Saudi money. So they want to sell them as much as possible. And I would say it's mainly like economics. The more they sell of these planes, the more they're gonna kickstart the economy and create more jobs and fund the military industrial complex and so forth. And Saudi Arabia has F-15s anyway, if I'm not mistaken. So now they want the next. Nobody would want like what do you want to get really like F-16s? It's like So they want the next gen. They want the next gen. Everybody wants the next gen, especially now the Americans when they announced the 47. Like in 5 years from now, the F-35 will be like an older plane, right? So,
and Israel, having this doctrine, Sheikh, like ever since in the 50s, but also after the 1973 war, the actual what was it called, qualitative military edge, doctrine that we need to be above every other nation around us because we want to make sure that if things go bad, we're still in a good position. Where does that put Israel?
As I said, basically the Saudis would not use these planes against Israel. So I think the Americans are fine. They don't care. And maybe a little bit of balance. Like, don't forget, the Israelis been acting like crazy. It's just out of hand. Like, you don't want... it seems the American administration doesn't want to deal with this craziness all the time. They have to, again, I've been saying a million times, I keep saying it. They have big, dragon to deal with, China, right? So They don't want this like fuss. They want to inflame things when they want to. They want to they want to deal with the Israelis with like a push of a button. The Israelis became very strong. Really, they got entrenched into within the political elites in America. Definitely, they are in the media. Definitely, they're in the banking sector. Definitely, they're in Hollywood. Definitely, they're so they lobbyists. They have the most influential lobby. So it seems basically right now it's just an American gesture that look, if Israelis are not going to cooperate, with what we want, we can make life very tough for them, right? So
I would be remiss to not bring up the recent defense agreements, right, between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, right? Now, this happening after the fact, is there any implications now that Pakistan is supposed to have this agreement and protect Saudi Arabia getting F-35s? Will Pakistan, do you anticipate them getting access to this technology in the future?
No.
And what makes Pakistan different than Saudi Arabia? Is it that Pakistan's a very threatening country? They have a nuclear weapon and all that stuff, and Saudi's more fully controlled?
Yeah, I mean, Saudi Arabia is fully controlled, sadly. It's very. I wish that even the Saudi family, that they become independent in their country and they would, develop their own technology in every sector. But Pakistan and Turkey are very strong countries. Don't forget, Pakistan is like almost 300 million people. Let's say 250 million people. And Turkey is a very advanced country. So those two countries have... Pakistan is still sadly under the American, within the American sphere of influence. Yeah. This is also true. Yeah. But if Pakistan slips through the American hands...
It'll be a disaster.
It's a disaster. It's a nuclear country, humongous... It's big air force, big army, big navy. It's just it's a huge country. Saudi Arabia is just like I said. Basically, the army is not even Saudis. Like, what are these people going to fight for, right? It's just it's not a country that is able to withstand any external shock. So since King Abdulaziz signed the contract for protection, in return for oil being American. From President Roosevelt, Saudi Arabia became more of a protectorate. It's like it's not a state. Yeah, it's a protectorate.
And the other thing that was discussed was the U.S. working on a civilian nuclear program with Saudi Arabia. I guess what does that accomplish for Saudi Arabia? And I guess the question I do have to ask is there a potential now that you have a civilian nuclear program? Like, how easy is it for a nation to then enrich that and make it into, let's say, an actual nuclear, weapons in the future, for example?
It's easier. Definitely it's easier, right? Without a doubt. I think if they have civilian nuclear power and they operate it, they know, how to, enrich for civilian causes. I don't think the United States will allow them to do that. I think they will force them to buy the enriched uranium from themselves. So they'll limit basically their ability to understand the technology. But the minute you have it, you still can be... It's a step in a direction towards understanding nuclear technology. Nobody can say otherwise. But how far is it? Depends on how things get configured. The thing is basically, it takes political will. If the Saudis have political will, they'll get nuclear technology. And don't forget that my stance on Israel is that it does not have nuclear weapons. We'll continue to say that until they do a test. So...
No, this is a good one. I think it might actually be worth maybe another episode.
But don't forget, they do have civilian nuclear technology.
Yeah.
So, So what's happening right now, what's happening is basically the Saudis are becoming a little bit on par with Israelis.
But in a way that the U.S. is using the country that they have full control over. So there's no risk.
Yeah, there's no risk. Yeah, there's no risk. But they can use it as a card against Israelis.
Now, before we jump into what else was discussed, Abraham Accords, I do want to ask you this question, Sheikh. Some people might say, it's good that a nation like Saudi Arabia is getting more advanced, technology from the U.S. But does that now increase, because you kind of hinted at this earlier and mentioned it, that it increases their reliance on the U.S. from a technology standpoint,
exactly.
Right? So if there is a political will for a nation to grow, what direction should they be going?
Oh, independence. Like independent military industrial complex, just like Turkey is doing. The Americans wanted to control Turkey by selling them the F-35. Now, Turkey right now needs it because not having it is a vulnerability. right? Vulnerability from Israel, vulnerability from many different, from Russia, from Greece. Right? Like, so Turkey has lots of enemies. But don't forget, even like the F-35s from Saudis. Like, look, if you love Saudi Arabia, you tell them basically, build your own economy, build your own technology, build your own, scientific research centers, build your own technology in the military sector. This is what they should be doing. But continuous reliance on the Americans just keeps them in the hole.
Yeah.
The minute the Americans pulls the switch, they're done.
Yeah.
And don't forget that the reason Saudi Arabia is getting armed is not because of Israel. It's like this is total. This would be like a leftist, very wrong perspective.
So then, what is that then?
No, it's Iran.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what sense? Like Iran? I thought Iran's coming back to the negotiating table. What's the concern with Iran right now?
Again, the Saudis want to be able to, because you don't forget the Iranians have hurt Saudi Arabia before through the Houthis. You see what I'm saying? So now the Saudis with these planes, they can hit Iran anytime they want. Like you saw how the Israelis did it.
Yeah.
Who's closer to Iran? To Iran? Saudi Arabia is closer. So like it's easy to go and come. And even the Israelis would use the Saudis to do their dirty job. If the Israelis want to smash the Iranians, they'll tell the Saudis, "Hey, let's do it together," or you can do it. You can do it, and we'll support you. So don't forget, this has nothing to do with Israel from a perspective.
Now, you mentioned other players. What about China? Is this whole kind of working together because of investments in AI? Trump mentioned that now we're going to bring, AI, different things back to our country and become strong again and be better than China. You mentioned that in one of the interviews. Does this have anything to do with China at this point as well?
And well, look, I wouldn't think so. I mean, Saudi Arabia is fully American. And I would say basically this might have to do with the Abraham Accord more than anything else. Trump basically, finalized the Gaza issue. Now we need to go to the next step. Integrating the Middle East with Israel is the next step, right? The Abraham Accords was that. It's his plan, right? It's just like Trump.
Since you mentioned Abraham Accords, I want you to hear this clip then.
Having a good relation with all Middle Eastern countries is a good thing. And we want to be part of the Abraham Accord, but we want also to be sure that we secure a clear path of two-state solution. And today we have a healthy discussion with Mr. President that we're going to work on that to be sure that we can prepare the right situation as soon as possible to have that.
I think I don't want to use the word commitment, but we've had a very good talk on the Abraham Accords. We talked about one state, two state. We talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. We'll be discussing it further too. But I think you have a very good feeling toward the Abraham Accords.
Yes, definitely, Mr. President. We want peace for the Israelis. We want peace for the Palestinians. We want them to coexist peacefully in the region. And we will do all.
So what's your, reaction to that? That he did bring up that a two-state, and then Trump mentioned, I don't want to use the word commitment here, but you're warming up to it. And then he's like, yeah, we want peace. So is this kind of helping Saudi Arabia shift from that rhetoric because now they're getting all this protection and all these things from the U.S., public consumption for their people to now join into the Abraham Accords? What's your reaction to this clip?
Look, at the end of the day, the whole issue of the two-state solution has been there for 40 years.
Yeah.
Right? So nobody believes it anymore.
Yeah.
And as we said, even if it came to be, it will be not it'll be a state and a pseudo-state.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a state really. But let's see, basically the whole issue of the international force coming to Gaza might play a big role in defining what that means. But don't forget, let's just so I can comment on this.
Yes.
The MBS has to say all the time, just because of the Saudis and the Muslim populace around them, that look, I won't do it until we get a two-state solution. That's been his rhetoric.
Yeah.
So it's just for public consumption, to be honest. And then there is negotiation. The Israelis don't want even the word state to be there.
Yeah.
Even though it's a pseudo-state. Look, international forces inside Gaza, that's from an Israeli perspective, is occupying Israel. You just need to understand that.
Okay, so
especially if Turkey.
Yeah. Just a question on that, right? Because just on Monday, right, the UN Security Council they passed that plan, and among the clauses that they supported was the deployment of the ISF, International Stabilization Force, to go in and have oversight and provide security for Gaza. Hakan Fidan, the Turkish foreign minister, said that, we're ready to do this. We're ready, and we're ready to shoulder this responsibility, and including deploying troops if necessary. Israel does not like that because, as you mentioned, it's like occupation. Where do you think this will go? Will this end up with Turkey now like literally taking over and annexing Gaza? Where does this go?
100% not. 100% not. Look, at the end of the day, nothing's like just like one color. There's always multicolors for any situation. So the Turks are used really to do the job of the Israelis to stabilize the strip. The Netanyahu have failed in being able to, let's say, eradicate Hamas, and without the United States, he wouldn't have been able to get any of the hostages, dead or alive. So the Americans, showed him that, look, you need us to do that. So there's two things basically. Definitely the Israelis, the perfect world is Hamas would basically be eradicated, the Palestinians will be pushed into Egypt, and then they take over Gaza. That's the perfect world from an Israeli perspective. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Nothing of that happened at all. They couldn't get the hostages, on their own. They couldn't basically eradicate Hamas. They couldn't, they couldn't ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. So the Turks, they're going to go there and do what now, right? Like, they'll be in danger. Like any like how many soldiers are they going to? How much are they talking about? Like 5,000, I think, or like not even, right? Like a couple thousand.
1,000 to 2,000.
Yeah, 1,000 to 2,000. Yeah. So a couple thousand soldiers like that they could be obliterated by the Israeli Air Force anytime. So, from that perspective, it's not like, Turkey is making a move. This is all gibberish. Sadly, there's lots of emotional public consumption videos and statements for the Turks themselves. Like I see lots of Turks on X just celebrating, like, we're going back as the Ottomans over to Palestine.
Yeah.
But it's silly. It's very silly.
So my question for you, Sheikh, is I felt that this was very strange, right? Like, what does Turkey gain from this except put themselves at risk? And actually, you're putting yourself closer. Something can happen. You can
serving American interest. Like, people need to understand that. Again, you can frame it as much as you want. Like, if you really wanted to save Gaza, brothers, it's been like they got slaughtered for 2 years and a half. 2 years, right? It's sad. It's like sad how people basically don't think. People are emotional. And that's the problem. The masses can be easily swayed with a little bit of a tear here, a tear there, a feisty speech here, a feisty speech there. May Allah help us. May Allah help us. See, if the Muslimin, they go back to the Quran, they realize that they need to think and be deep thinkers, But we don't have that today.
Will Hamas disarmament even be happening if Turkey's there? Will they be used for that? Or will they just kind of forget about the Hamas disarmament since the Turks?
I don't think so. To be honest, basically, the only way to disarm Hamas is to just blow up the whole thing. Right? You just need to blow up the whole thing. And to do that, you have to kill 2 million people.
Yeah.
Or transfer them outside. So first you do ethnic cleansing and then you blow up the place.
Yeah.
So who wants to do it? The Turks wants to do it?
No, that's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
There's always political maneuvers to get Hamas to disarm, just like they tried with Hezbollah, right? So it's just, at the end of the day, there's a security way to do it too. If the government gets enforced over Gaza, that now has, like, let's say, the profile of all the citizens, and they can monitor and spy on everybody, they'll be able to know where's these tunnels and who's who, and they can easily dismantle it afterwards, but not immediately, not by force, and not immediately. It'll take some time.
Now, Sheikh, to draw this episode to a close, we spoke about Saudi Arabia. There's one thing that's always spoken about Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, right? There's just a recent report, according to a report by the Financial Times, they actually mentioned that the different projects, NEOM, the line, are being rolled back. Lots of firings, not much progress, not much talk about budget being allocated.
But everybody in Saudi Arabia knew that for years now. This whole Project 2030 is a hoax. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just it was to liberalize the country. It's just to spread false hope. It's to get the young boys and girls in Saudi Arabia to start, having a little bit of hope and being liberal, and just let's go build businesses. And the real opportunities were not there because the Americans are spending money to buy stuff from America. Imagine you took that $1 trillion and you put it in investments. You could have built a country on Mars. But the regime is subservient for American interest. And instead of the money being spent in Saudis, and this is a message to all Saudis, especially the young ones who are very hopeful. Sure, you got your dance clubs, you got your concerts. That's all what you got. And that's going to take you to hell in the afterlife, right? So realize, think a little bit. That $1 trillion is being basically spent on American products. Well, once you spend it basically on these young, amazing entrepreneurs and thinkers and scientists and engineers. Look at China. If China had that much money, it would have built an economy in 10 years. Saudi Arabia can do it. It's just there's no political will. And I hope that gets changed at one point in time. This is a message to everybody in Saudi Arabia, from the king to everybody in his administration. Anybody who's concerned, every single Saudi, is to think that, look, we're going the wrong direction. We're not building Saudi Arabia. We're going to be poor soon.
And does that leave Saudi Arabia with let's say, a more bleak future, because they've been trying to diversify from the oil, right? The oil's going to run out eventually. What does this mean for them?
I like this whole thing about the oil running out. When I was a teenager, we were speaking about peak oil and oil running out. Oil does not run out from that area. Okay, I stopped looking at numbers a long time ago. It just does not run out.
Yeah.
It's the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now, this country is going to be rich for a long time, but this is what I'm saying. Rich doesn't mean you're a free man. Rich means basically you take 5%, you spend it in your country, and 95% you spend in the United States. And that's the price of protection. You're just a protectorate. You're not a free country. Understand that every Saudi person needs to understand you're just a slave of the Americans. That's the truth. I didn't sign the contract. Your king did. King Abdulaziz, right? We need to say it as it is. I hope Saudi Arabia, as it is, would become a strong country. This is what I would hope. I would hope for. This is what I would love.
Sheikh, Jazakumullah khairan. And for everybody at home, we'll see you all in the next episode of i3 Pulse. Till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.